All right. As Matthew McConaughey would say, sorry about that. I guess OBS didn't like my microphone for some reason, but I think we're good now. So hey, all you out there in synthesizer land, let's make sure we got audio this time. Cool. Looks like now it's working. Welcome to another Voltage Modular stream, a Cherry Audio stream rather. Been a minute, has it not? I believe the last time we did a stream was sometime late last year. So welcome back, everyone. Hope everyone is having fun out there in synthesizer noise-making land. It is a beautiful Friday here, so happy Friday to you all. It's actually sunny here, but despite it being sunny, it's actually still kind of cold. But I'll take what I can get. And you know, it doesn't matter because we don't need to go outside. We can stay inside because you know what we have? We have the new Voltage Modular VM2500 Collection. And that is what we're going to be exploring here in this here video presentation stream party time. Today, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we are going to be breaking down the demo track that I made for it. This is the track you hear in the reveal trailer. So the big kind of pulsing techno EDM house sort of thing. It's pretty cool and surprisingly modern. I think people maybe have this misconception about synthesizers and stuff, and that older synths are really only good for, you know, like older classic sounds, but you'd be really surprised at how far you can push these things. Even something as humble as the DC-0106 is pretty capable of making some pretty heavy, you know, bass lines and stuff if you know what to do with it. So the new Voltage Modular VM2500 Collection is a series of modules from the ARP 2500, but there's actually more. There's a new reverb, there's a new mixer, and there's even a little text panel to make patch notes. But enough blabbing about it, let's actually dive in and take a look at some of it, shall we? Just gonna need to make sure we got that there. All right, so let's take a listen to this here thing. Make sure we got audio from the DAW and start breaking down some of these sounds. right? So that is actually the VM2500 modules here. All of those sounds except these drums are from that. So everything from the cool sample and hold lead stuff to that big, big, mean bass sound right in here. It's actually all VM2500, a combination of a couple presets and then a couple tweaks to them. But all in all, let's take a quick look at these modules, shall we? There are 21 in total. Let's get a fresh instance of voltage here. I'm going to turn off some of these mastering effect things because we don't need that eating up all my CPU now, do we? So if we pop in here, the VM2500, we've got a whole lot of stuff here. We've got our blank panel envelope generator, dual envelope generator actually. A couple of different oscillators. These are a lot of fun. One of my favorites is actually this one here, which is the 1004 maybe, or 1004P. This is really cool because it allows you to blend in different basic waveforms together, so you can create some kind of complex waveforms from that, which is really fun, especially to do stuff with like FM with. We've got the mod amp, we've got filter amp. Let's drag in a new row to the cabinet here. We've got random voltage generator, oscilloscope, dual oscillator, dual reverb, which is actually pretty cool. And I believe Mitch from Cherry Audio can correct me if I'm wrong here in the chat, but this actually did not exist. So this is actually a unique design, as was the mixer module, I believe. We've also got the preset voltage here, the clocked sequential control, dual envelope generator, sample and hold, triple VCA, another synthesizer voice here, quad envelope generator, the multi-mode filter and resonator, the 1050 mix sequencer, and then the 1051 dual 4-channel mixer. So quite a bit of stuff going on here, and very, very powerful. Now, if you are super new to modular stuff and you're really not sure how any of this stuff works, don't be too afraid, because there's actually a bunch of presets as well, which is awesome. If we go in here, you'll find the VM2500 Collection presets. So there's a bunch of stuff here, basses, leads, and just about everything you need to get started, because unlike maybe some of the more modern modules, the 2500 is kind of a little more esoteric territory, because it looks like some kind of old vintage sci-fi lab equipment. It's very diagram heavy and not maybe as immediate as some of the other modules, but it is a lot of fun, and as you can hopefully tell from the sound demo, they sound really, really good. Like, these modules, I think, sound absolutely incredible, and that is in large part, I think, due to this being a collaboration. These modules are from Cherry Audio, but also designed in collaboration with MRB Modules, who is one of many fantastically talented developers for Voltage Modular modules. MRB's got a ton of really cool stuff as well, and the recent collaboration as well was with the SEM modules, which you may have played with so far. But these new 2500 modules are a collaboration between Cherry Audio and MRB, and I think they sound fantastic. So let's take a look in a little more detail at some of these patches and break them down. First up, I think let's talk about maybe this sample and hold lead, because this is pretty straightforward, and funny enough, I ended up using just the regular old sample and hold here, but that's okay. This is a really, really fun patch to make, and I think works really well for like intros. Let's turn down the cable opacity there. So this is made up of the 1004P module. I've got the dual envelope generator here, so I've just got the gate coming in from the gate. Let's zoom out just a little bit. This is feeding into the filter amp module, and what's cool about this one, the 1006 filter amp, is it's actually got this output drive here, and I am not super familiar with this kind of stuff. I don't really know how these things work on the internals, and that's why there's, you know, Cherry Audio and MRB to bring these things to life so goons like me can play with them. But check out the sound of this drive. We'll start bringing it in here. Really nice, fat sound to this once you start pushing up that drive. The filter as well sounds phenomenal. And I think a filter, you know, oscillators, I could take it or leave it. I think a lot of oscillators sound the same, at least to me. But I think the real magic of a synth is in the filter, and this filter, let's just crank that resonance way up and back the drive off to something a bit more sensible here. But this filter, absolutely nuts. So, killer job to Mark Barton MRB modules for that filter. I mean, my compliments to the chef, because that filter is beautiful, and I love running some of my hardware stuff through Voltage just to play with that filter. It sounds so good. So, in terms of what's actually happening in this patch here, I'm feeding the oscillator into this filter amp, so there's 3 inputs here. We can mix them together. I've got a diode here, so this is turning this into unipolar modulation. So I've got my sample and hold feeding into the diode. Diode positive goes out, and I'm using that to control the filter cutoff. Just dialed that in. Now the input is actually empty because the sample and hold here has an internal noise generator, as does the one from the 2500 series. I used an external trigger source here, sync divider, so this syncs up to my DAW. Got that at 16th notes, and then a glide here. This is just adding some glide between the notes because I've got just kind of nice steady thing going on, and I wanted it to feel like an arpeggiated synth line, so adding a little bit of glide can kind of help with that. But maybe we could start blending in some of the other waveforms here to get a more complicated sound out of this, because right now this is just a saw wave. And actually, I think for some added modulation, a really easy way to spice this up would maybe be to take... I guess let's grab another one of these 1004s here. So I'm going to hold Alt to duplicate that. And I'm going to grab the oscilloscope. And what I think I want to design is actually just a new LFO. That would be kind of cool just to move that filter around a bit. So I'm going to patch this out here. So this is a new oscilloscope, which just, I don't know, oscilloscopes look really cool. Let's try and just blend some stuff together here and see what we get. All right, and then I'm going to add a glide module just to smooth that out a little bit. There we go. That's kind of interesting. And we'll slow this down quite a bit. Excellent. I'm going to feed that into the second filter cutoff modulation here, just to get some movement. Cool. Really simple way to spice that patch up. So below that is actually one of the presets, and this again is using that filter amp just with a high resonance and a lot of drive. And I think really just that sound, let's turn that up and appreciate that for a minute. I mean, that filter sounds fantastic. It really does. Why not use the 2500 sample and hold? I actually just did it for the sake of cabinet space, I think, because I just knew how this one worked really quick. So, you know, I made this demo track needed to be done in a rush, so I just grabbed one I could immediately pick up and go with. And yeah, like I mentioned, some of these get a little bit out there, but they do sound really good. So yeah, that's the snort preset. Super easy bass sound. And that's really all that makes up the intro to this track. And I think that, you know, something so simple like that can sound so cool with the right modules. Let's talk about this big bass. because I think this is where things start to get interesting. So this is the big pulse width mod bass, another preset here, using a couple of different oscillators actually. So this is the 1004 and then the 1004T, so P and T here. Triple VCA, we've got over here, same filter, so filter amp, triple VCA, dual envelope, and then we've got, what is this one? The 1023 dual oscillator. So a lot of different oscillators going on here, good amount of modulation. We've got this nice thick bass sound coming out of it. All I did was bring in a filter, just a stock filter in the DAW, automate that a little bit. So we got this nice dark. Opens up. And nice big mean bass sound. And then just a little bit of saturation here. I just needed some more saturation that was a bit heavier sounding. So that gives me the final. And I gotta say, when I was making this track using these modules, I was just super impressed at how something like this, I mean, a very simple patch, just a couple oscillators doing a pulse width bass, which I'm sure we've all made a billion times by now, but something so simple can sound so absolutely huge. Because in this main section here, I just want to point out that there's really nothing happening. There's a bass and there's a lead. There's literally two synths going on here, and it just feels huge, especially once we bring in a little bit of master bus compression. That is just wild to me, that a bass and a lead can sound that full without needing, you know, a lot of little layers and things to help it along the way. On the note of that lead, another lead here, presets. So this is effective lead 3. And I believe the only thing I did inside of this was actually just add in, or no, I didn't add in the glide. That was actually in the preset as well. So really straightforward sound. This is just a handful of oscillators, 1004P. We've got the dual oscillator going once again. Filter amp, a little bit of drive, and just that filter magic. And we've also got the reverb in here. And I think we'll show that off next, actually, because the reverb module is pretty cool and actually sounds really good. So on the lead there, not much happening. It's actually just an arpeggiator and a delay after the fact. So on its own, pretty bright, aggressive lead with the arpeggiator. And a little bit of delay. And those two things together I couldn't believe that that was all I needed to make this huge sounding kind of chorus and, you know, culmination to this track. It was just two things. And then to sweeten it up here, I went over and added that sample and hold from the beginning on top, and then a new ARP layer. So this ARP layer, I believe I just duplicated and changed it to a different lead preset, so square lead this time. But what I did for this one is kind of a fun trick you should know about. I actually took a clock divider and sent the trigger into it, divided by 8, and used that to trigger a glide. So the glide is feeding the pitch of this dual oscillator. So every 8 notes, it'll add a bit of glide, which is actually a fun thing to do, especially when you start playing with an arpeggiator or looping patterns. It gives you this really neat effect. So that's just using a trigger through a clock divider into a glide. Super simple way to add a little bit of a twist and kind of a more organic melodic phrasing to things. So super, super fun sound there. And that just goes into another delay. Very, very simple stuff. But you add those three things together and it feels even bigger. But again, with only 3 elements here. Now, I love synths as much as the next person, but how Cherry Audio and MRB were able to put that together and make it sound that good is just beyond me, because as you can see as well, there's no EQ or anything really going on. The only thing that's got anything is the bass with a distortion and a filter and then a stock delay from the DAW. But I didn't need to, didn't need to EQ, didn't need to compress, didn't need to do any kind of post-production goofery to get it to sound good. It just immediately jumps out of the speakers and fills the room, which I think is really, really cool, but really inspiring to work with. It's always good to have gear that you don't have to mess with to get it to sound good. So before we dive into that reverb module, I guess we'll just talk about a couple of the other sounds here, because there's not much to this track, and I think that's a pretty big statement in and of itself. On the end here, I've got another, or we already covered that. That's that big resonance sweep here. 2 more ARPs. And I really liked the sound of this one because it was really modern and glassy. So this is Glass Bell 2. This is made up of just a couple modules, really. Again, very simple stuff a lot of the time, but very powerful sounding. So we've got a couple 1004Ps here. Not really too much happening, actually. It's just a bunch of high-pitched things. And mix it together, add some reverb. We've got the multi-mode filter and resonator here, which we can take a bit of a closer look at. This is kind of a fun module. So this is kind of several filters in one, really, and you can send the individual outputs out to get some interesting effects. You can almost use this as like a single pole of a phaser and really resonant stuff as well, but by combining it and adding modulation, you can get some very interesting sounds out of this, which we might experiment with here in a minute. So that's that sound, and then on the last sound here, I believe is just a duplicate layer. Nice fluff 1. Just a nice kind of fluffy lead. It almost sounds like Oberheim brass stuff, but again, the filter is really the magic here, and I think it has its own kind of distinct sonic character, which is really cool. So on the end there, just a handful of elements once again, only 4 things happening. If we listen to... I mean, absolutely huge sounding modules. So yeah, let's take a listen to that reverb really quick, because it is actually pretty cool. I always want to type VM instead of Voltage Modular. So let's grab one of the oscillators, let's grab the filter amp, and let's grab envelope generator, and let's find that reverb. Here we go. All right, let's wire this up. So, everyone sing along with me now. The pitch bone goes into the 1 volt per octave. The output goes into the amplifier, filter amplifier, I guess. And then the gate goes into the gate thing. The gate goes out to the amplifier CV control. The output goes into the reverb. And these are the letters of the alphabet. Boom. Excellent. All right, let's give this a play. So this is a pretty fun module. So we've actually got 2 reverbs in one. We've got a couple of different modes here, 5 different modes, a tone control, and of course the mix, which can be controlled with CV. Now, I think one of the fun tricks, at least in my mind, is to grab one of the sequencers. Let's grab the sequential control here. And I'm just going to use Control R a couple times, just for the sake of whatever. We'll run this here. I'm going to grab a... Actually, let's get a sync divider going. That'll make life easier. I'm going to grab the sync out. Get the play. And then we're going to run this in here. Actually, let's run. Trying to think of how I want to do this here, because there's a couple ways I want to go about this. So let's take the output of this first row, because there's actually 3 rows here, and feed this into the CV mix. So let's drop this down to something about like that. I'm trying to think if we want to sync this or not, because it might be fun just to go for it. Or we can manually trigger things, which can be kind of fun. I think we'll actually do that. So I'm going to run the play gate out into this. So that way when I play, it's going to run. So let's let this play here, and we can actually... get some interesting stuff going on by mixing in the reverb with CV. Let's brighten up the tone and maybe go to one of these. And I think that's kind of neat. You know, a CV-controlled reverb is maybe not a super common thing, but it is a very interesting sound. Overall, though, a pretty decent sounding reverb, I think. So it's, I believe, a spring reverb. Let's up the tone all the way and just give a good listen to like some short plucks. So we can get some very diffused sounds, or some very springy, almost kind of granular sounding stuff on tank 1 there. Up to some more diffused and almost plate reverb-like tones there. So let's maybe bring in the sequencer again, and maybe we'll quantize the output of this one. Let's run that into a quantizer. Let's maybe drop that down to half. Let's feed some pitch through here. And let's see if we can't do something interesting with this track. So this is in F, it looks like. Let's see if we can't build out kind of a fun layer to sit on top of everything here. I believe this is in minor. It's probably in minor if I wrote it. Let's see what we've got. That's getting pretty loud. And now I think we'll take this third output and feed that into the frequency cutoff control of the filter. Maybe we'll also use the output of 2 to control the pulse width. I think that could be kind of cool. And then maybe we'll do... maybe we'll get this synced up here. Except I'm not doing that right, am I? Pop quiz, how do we sync this up? Don't tell me. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Let's maybe slow that down to eighths. And now we can get maybe kind of a generative lead going on here. That's not a smart way to do that. But you know what might be more interesting? There is the Bernoulli gate here, and I think what we could do is maybe even mess with a chance of a few things. That could be kind of fun. So I think what we might do instead is try and play a little bit with probability and try triggering this using this sequencer. Let's see if that would work. It may or may not. I guess in this case it doesn't seem to be wanting to work. Well, that's fine. Because there's all sorts of fun things we can do, like actually running the output of a square to the gate. And I wonder what that would sound like underneath all this. Let's try it out. Except this may not be in the key of F now that I'm listening to it. It looks like it is. Well, I don't know. That patch was actually a terrible idea, so let's do something else instead that's actually going to work. And then maybe we'll do a couple questions. So what could we add into this that could be interesting? I'm kind of hearing a gliding lead in that. Let's try that out. So let's build a quick gliding lead here. So we're going to feed pitch into a glide. The glide's going to go out. Set this to maybe about there. Let's feed these into the amplifier. Let's control the amplifier with that. Let's get a gate. Let's see what we could do here. All right, let's get that reverb in as well. Just for a bit of space, and because the output of the reverb is stereo, that'll give us some nice width to everything. Let's try and build a really aggressive lead. Like 4. Sounded pretty good. All right, cool. And then I'm going to grab just a mini LFO here. Let's feed that into the pulse width of both of these, and we'll just slow it down. Maybe we'll make one a little bit faster, and I'm going to increase the output of the pulse. drive. Ooh, that starts to get real mean. And then maybe we could try and control the output of the, or the cutoff of the filter with velocity. Neat. All right, I think that should be kind of cool. And then let's just get an arpeggiator going. And we'll just kind of change the velocity. Maybe something about like that. And see if we can't build kind of a cool lead section here. I think that could be kind of fun. Let's try that. Cool. All right, let's tweak that patch a bit. I think what I might want to bring in is maybe even the multi-mode filter here and try and get something a little more interesting going on. Let's maybe get the notch, and then we'll feed that mini LFO in here to control that. Or actually, why don't we get maybe the... Maybe get kind of a vocal thing going on. That's starting to get somewhere. Let's maybe duplicate that out and try one more layer to that filter. And that's the fun thing about Voltage Modular is we're not limited to having as many modules as we can afford. We can actually just have a ton of modules and just instantly duplicate them. Let's see, what else could we feed in there? Maybe we'll try the low pass from this one. That's actually starting to sound really cool. So let's take that and let's start moving both of those filters ever so slightly. Got to be a bit more subtle with it though. And then I think I'm going to grab the sequential control here. Let's just randomize that a couple times. And just get a little bit of steppy weirdness going on as well. We'll just feed the play gate into that again. think that sounded pretty cool. And then maybe a little bit of distortion. I'm going to grab the Haslow Destructor. This is a good module. So let's grab this, and then output goes to here. Let's turn that down before we get ahead of ourselves. And maybe just a touch of delay on that. Doesn't have to be synced though. And let's do the sync or clock divider trick here one more time. So I'm going to have this be externally engaged from this, and let's divide by maybe 6. Nice. I think that sounded pretty cool. Let's hear that in the track here. That's actually kind of awesome. I'm not gonna lie. All right, let's duplicate that out then. Get our bass going on. Get our transition in there, and now we've got a new section to our track with just a couple quick patch connections. Get this stuff set back where it should be. And now, let's see how that sounds. Wow. I just want to keep playing that lead over and over. That's actually awesome. All right, let's maybe try one more patch here. Let's see what we can get. So let's see, what should we do here? I think what I want to try and make is a really raspy sort of thing. So I'm going to grab that multi-mode filter again here. And maybe, just maybe, man, the synthesizer voice one is really fun. I kind of want to do that. Okay, I'm going to leave that in here for now. And then let's grab the... I'm going to grab the filter amp because we might grab that. Okay. So the pitch bone goes into the pitch bone. Let's find the dual envelope generator. Input of the filter amp. I'm going to turn up the opacity so you can see what I'm doing. Output of that goes to that. Gate goes to that. And I'm going to open this up all the way for right now. Let's just figure out a cool sound here. So I think what I want to do is feed the output into the frequency mod of the oscillator. Just for a little bit of mush. And then let's feed it into the filter as well. Because we can have two different noises. So I'm going to try pink noise, because that's usually a bit less ridiculous sounding. Cool. Yeah, with a little bit of drive, that sounds nice. So I think I'm not going to use that synthesizer voice after all, but let's grab another one of these and just drop that down an octave. Feed that into input 2 here, and maybe we'll use a square down an octave. Ooh. That's pretty fat sounding. Maybe a bit more resonance though. Right on. I dig that. I dig that a lot. And maybe just for a little bit of metallic kind of whine on the top end, let's just get a really high frequency, I guess a blend of maybe a triangle and a saw. That way it almost kind of has a sort of FM quality to it, but it's not FM. It's just, there's just a really loud, high frequency thing going on. And let's use just a slightly resonant high pass, just because this is a lead after all. So we don't really need all that super thick bottom end. And let's key track that as well. So key tracking is super simple. In case you didn't know how to do that, we could just output the pitch CV here into one of these frequency mods. So let's just pitch track that a little bit. It's hard to just not crank the resonance of that filter all the time because it sounds so good. And then, yeah, maybe let's get another Destructor in there, because Destructor just sounds really awesome. And another delay. Let's see what we got there. Maybe just a bit longer. Maybe that would benefit from a glide as well. So let's do a little bit of glide, and I'm gonna do my clock divider trick one more time. Just because that's also fun for kind of leads and solos and whatnot. Let's divide by, let's do 6 again, and maybe about 130. All right, let's give that a go here in this new section and see what we've got. I think that sounds pretty cool. That would sound even cooler though. All right, let's do it. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, I think we are just about out of time here. Unfortunately, we can go only for about an hour today, but I think that is pretty satisfying. And I mean, yeah, we didn't really even have to mix it. And I'm all about that. I'm all about doing as little as possible to making music, because mixing and stuff takes a long time. So yeah, everyone, that is a look here at the new VM2500 Collection for Voltage Modular, which is available right now. This has been a breakdown of the demo song for the reveal trailer, and we made a couple patches, talked a little bit about everything. These modules are a collaboration between Cherry Audio and MRB Modules, both of whom are super fantastic developers, and I think this is really a fantastic sounding set of modules. They really are a lot of fun, and I like the immediacy to them. I like how it just jumps out of the speakers and it really feels good to play. You know, I don't have to finish with a bunch of knobs and twiddle a bunch of stuff to get it to sound right. It just sounds really, really cool. And again, that filter, man, so good. So, Voltage Modular VM2500 Collection is available right now. Let's take a listen to this track now that we've added in a couple patches and twiddled with things a little bit, and hear the final product. Right on. Right on. That sounds pretty good to my ear, at least. So, hey, thank you all for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this little live demo hangout session playing around with the new Voltage Modular VM2500 Collection from Cherry Audio and MRB Modules. By the way, this is actually a really cool Voltage Modular shirt, and you can pick up some cool Cherry Audio merch for yourself as well. So, thank you guys for joining. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I hope that you get the idea here. These are some very, very cool modules, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Of course, probably stuck in your studio playing around with these new modules because they are a whole lot of fun and sound really, really good. I think they'll definitely thicken up your tracks in a pretty nice way. So, hey, thank you guys for joining. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope this inspires you to get out there and make something awesome. Big thank you to Cherry Audio for having me on the stream here. And yeah, have a great rest of your weekend. Goodbye.